A look then at the cover of Marca, Puro Madrid, pure Madrid. And then Carlo Ancelotti, of course, the play on words, smoking a puro, smoking a cigar.
That's the kind of manager you want to play for.
Right? I mean, just looks so freaking cool. Ancelotti now the first man, he also wins a lot, by the way, the first manager to win the league. And let's get this right, England, France, Germany, Italy, and finally, at long last, Spain. Right now, Real Madrid and Ancelotti enjoying a 15-point gap to second place, Barcelona. And as you see there, Real Madrid could actually set a record if they finish the season strong. And it really has been a push that began way back in late March. That catastrophe against Barcelona in El Clásico. Since El Clásico, 5 straight wins in league play, outscoring their opponents 14-3. It was a devastating defeat, but Real Madrid seemed to have brushed it off in quite some style. And even though they brushed it off, they certainly have not forgotten, at least not goalie Thibaut Courtois, who had this to say after the Clásico was key. Some people celebrated as if they had won the title, that they were back. Whatever is he referring to?
It's a very good moment for us. Of course, just 3 points. That is the pity is not a final, but maybe it means that we came back today. Maybe.
Okay, so that was Xavi post-Clásico. Of course, we remember what Gerard Piqué tweeted as well. We are back.
Yeah. Well, that was just before they lost 3 straight home games.
You got any problem with Thibaut Courtois talking smack?
No, not at all. I mean, Thibaut Courtois had at the end, he was a tough time from the Chelsea fans. He had a tough time when he went back in the Champions League. But he's been absolutely brilliant. And also, at the start of his Real Madrid career, or for quite a long period, he was not the favourite with the fans at the Bernabeu. But he's turned that around, and he's turned that around not with words on that occasion, but with performances. On this occasion, it's a bit of rhetoric, and you know, you can do that when you're lifting the trophy. But yeah, I just don't think anybody felt that Barcelona would be such a shambles this year. We knew there was a lot of problems, but we didn't know until, you know, August, September, when it all unravelled, just how bad the problems were. And whilst Real Madrid's problems, and they did have some, were not as serious, they navigated it so much better with the continuity and the appointment of Carlo Ancelotti. He's not a miracle worker, because he was managing Everton the year before, and they weren't that much better than they are now, albeit they're in the bottom 3. So he's not a miracle worker, but what he is a guy who the players can really appreciate and they can associate with his man management styles. And that's why I think we're seeing some of the best performances, even from the likes of Luka Modric at 36, Karim Benzema and Vinicius Junior, who was struggling. He's come to the fore. And that's really down, I think, to the manager.
Yeah. Maybe some of the best evidence of that is what Real Madrid were able to do after El Clásico, the bounce back. And Ian, it is really fascinating because if you look at that, you would have thought, okay, here's where Barcelona's going to kick on. Maybe not make this a title race, but make it a little bit more interesting. Real Madrid might start to fade. The exact opposite happened.
Yeah, and it was a mystery, really, because when you watch that Clásico and the way Barcelona played in that 4-0 win, they were incredible. And you were thinking, well, they've taken Real Madrid apart here, and hence the tweets from the players, we're back, etc., etc. You thought they're going to finish maybe a slightly distant second, but closer than they were. They're going to go on and win the Europa League. What happened is they fell apart again, somehow, went out to Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League. So I don't quite know what happened there with Barcelona. Congratulations to Real Madrid. They ran away with it. They're easily the best team in the league, but really the challenge from the others was a bit on the pathetic side, truthfully.
They've run away with it. How about their celebrations? There it is. This is the best part of it all, right?
Well, you've still got to win it. I totally agree with Ian. The challenge was lacklustre at best. I mean,
wouldn't you have liked to see Ancelotti sing?
I mean, Lopetegui at Sevilla was talking Sevilla's chances down, even when they were almost level with Real Madrid. So, but listen, you still got to go out and get it done. There was problematic times of the season when Benzema was out and they struggled to get a replacement. So that was a big bonus for them. But no, you'll never take these celebrations away.
It's the third La Liga title for Gareth Bale. He was not there to celebrate on Saturday at the Bernabeu. As you can see his tweet there, he had a bad back spasm. I guess, Ian, it's kind of fitting because he didn't really play much of a role this season.
No, I think a search party haven't they, for Gareth Bale and Eden Hazard, who are nowhere to be seen. But it's a sad story for me, really, Gareth Bale, because he has so much brilliant talent, but he seems like a player who's kind of only half-hearted in his interest in being around the game anymore, unless it's for Wales. Real Madrid have fallen out of love with him. He seems to have fallen out of love with Real Madrid, and that's where we are.
He still clearly has it. I mean, with Wales, he still has it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, international football's different. It's a lot more of a chess match at times, and yeah, he's kind of the talisman at Wales, and he rises to the occasion of all these other players that are, some of them playing not even the top flight, and he does do, and he has done a magnificent job for Wales. But he's been on. When the producer sent me that graphic, I think, oh, get Gareth Bale. My God, it didn't even come into my head, and I thought, well, you know, he's been on the missing list for a couple of years, and then Ian mentioned Eden Hazard, and I thought, bloody hell. I remember sitting in the studio in the first half of the season, and whenever Real Madrid would play, he'd probably be on the bench, but we'd talk about him. And it got to a point in the season, even if we're covering Real Madrid, it was like, what's the point? Mm-hmm. What's the point? And both of them have just become, and one of them, I mean, in all fairness to Gareth Bale, you know, Bale's been a huge success at Real Madrid up until the last couple of years.
Trophy haul, goals.
Performances, trophy. No, he got a lot of stick from the fans at times. Some terrific goals, won everything. You know, was a fixture in the team for long periods. So he can look back and say, yeah, all right, I've thrown the towel in a little bit or whatever now. What about Hazard? He's been part of nothing. He's really contributed very, very little. At least Bale can look back and some stunning performances and goals and huge occasions. Hazard, holy smokes. I mean, you talk about a disappointment.
Shaka, it may be complicated, but what's Bale's legacy at Real Madrid?
I don't think it's one that anybody remembers, in all honesty. And listen, I recognize the role he's played for Real Madrid. I recognize the silverware that he's won, but these last few years have just damaged his legacy beyond any kind of repair or recognition, in all honesty. And listen, I understand, I find it right that he wasn't there to celebrate, and as much as he's had injury issues, I think it became too much of a distraction to that dressing room at times when you want players to stand up and be counted when the chips are down and things aren't going your way. Gareth Bale had been missing. So it's only fitting that he wasn't there to celebrate when things were good. I don't think the fans remember him that fondly long term. And again, his trophy cabinet is as good as it gets. But I don't think the fans will pay that any mind at all. I don't think that comes into their consideration.
Just quickly before we go on, I know he wasn't there to celebrate at the
Bernabeu on Saturday. Yeah, he wasn't there.
Sorry, we'll go back to that in a minute. He wasn't there to celebrate at the Bernabeu. Mm-hmm. Because of a back spasm. I don't understand that.
What? If he's injured, he can't be at the stadium?
Yeah, when I was fortunate enough to be part of a team that won the title at Celtic for the first time in 10 years, they were all there. And I know Real Madrid have won a lot, but they were all there. The guys that played at Celtic Park that day, the guys that were injured, the people that were outed from the squad, the people that Wim Jansen hardly picked, played a handful of times, not even stripped, in the suits and shirts and ties. They were all there. There's no excuse. I get it. He's injured. He can't. But there's no excuse to not be there. And maybe he was. Maybe we've got it wrong. But there's no excuse not to be there to celebrate at your home stadium with all your teammates, unless you're bedridden, right? There's no excuse. So I'm sorry. I picked the first bit of it up wrong. Later on, when they're celebrating the Bernabeu and all that, when Ancelotti's singing and when having it, they should all be there. That is just plain wrong for me.
Second leg between Real Madrid and
graphic.
Manchester City. It's coming. No, I'm glad you got that in. Of course, coming to Wednesday.
I don't get that. What's he doing? Sitting at home?
Yeah, where else would you rather be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we're moving on. We're not dropping this twice.
No, City leading 4-3 on aggregate as we head to the second leg, and pretty significant favorites there. Don't tell the Spanish papers that, though. Here's what AS had to say. Sí se puede. Yes, we can. Expecting a sold-out Bernabeu.
1-5 against.
At the match
I'm not good
tomorrow.
with odds. Are you good with odds?
I'm not great with odds, but I think City obviously up.
I said a
big
few days
favorites there.
ago on the show, when we had odds that might have changed, I don't know, but they were heavily favouring Man City. I mean, heavily. And I personally don't see it that way. Yeah, I think City are a better side, but I think it's more of a 60-40 call at best, because this...
If you do the math on those odds, about 80-20. So you're saying you're giving Real Madrid a way better shot than the odds makers.
Yes, they're a way better team than that. I mean...
Down a goal.
They rested players at the weekend. They made a lot of changes. Yes, they're down a goal. They were lucky against Chelsea in the second leg, and they can't afford to perform that way again. But we saw what they did to PSG, and we know the type of performance they can put in any given evening. We saw it at Stamford Bridge. We've seen the magic from Vinicius at the Etihad. We've seen the magic from Benzema at the Etihad. My God, when Real Madrid couldn't even get a kick, one ball in the box, bang, goal. City have been a team who at this stage of these huge competitions have predominantly made bad judgment errors at the back. That's how close I think this game is a Manchester City aberration away from going out. And we've seen it before with Pep's teams in the quarterfinals, in the semi-finals, and in the final. And you make basic errors against this Real Madrid side with people like Modric and Kroos that can just cut you open, and Benzema, who's the best striker on the planet at the moment. This is a dangerous game. This is a dangerous game for Man City, and I'm intrigued to see how they're going to play it.
You're back tomorrow. We'll get your pick then. Shaka, who you got going through?
I have City going through, but only just. I'm with Craig on that. I don't think there's anybody better right now in football at taking advantage of your mistakes. And let's be honest, in the first leg against Manchester City, Real Madrid could have been 3 or 4 down in the opening 30 minutes. Yet still they come away from that, 4-3. Similarly, okay, in the first leg against Chelsea, they were better. In the second, Chelsea got a grip of the game, but then you make mistakes, Real Madrid take advantage. PSG, same old story. It just feels that this Real Madrid can be second best, and you just give them a glimmer of hope, and they're the ones that are going to take it. So while I have City as favourites, it's only going to be just because of that fact, because of who Real Madrid continue to prove who they are.
Ian, last word on this to you. What's your sense of what we'll see Wednesday?
Well, I think Manchester City are the better team. I think both teams will score in this game because they've got such potent attacks. But, you know, Benzema now is acquiring the kind of quality that Lionel Messi had, that kind of X factor. Any game he's playing in, he's likely to be the decisive factor. It's happened already. Real Madrid have got out of corners against Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea. They found a way to go through. I think Manchester City kind of blew it last week, really. They could have put this tie to bed. They didn't. They let Real Madrid back into it. And now I think those odds are crazy. I think it's kind of almost like a 50-50 call. The game is at the Bernabeu. They've got Vinicius. They've got Benzema. So this is on a knife edge.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.